Take a look at these two Nightscapes. One clearly stands out and feels way more impressive, right? But here's the thing, they are actually the exact same shot. So, what's the difference? When editing the second one, I avoided one simple mistake nearly every beginner makes. In this video, I will show you 5 common Nightscape photography mistakes in shooting, editing, and mindset. I will explain why they are stopping your images from standing out, how to avoid them, and how to fix them if you are already making them. And stick around for the mindset mistake at the end. It might genuinely be the hidden reason your Nightscapes look nothing like the ones you see online. Let's dive in, starting with one of the biggest struggles in astrophotography, your settings. One of the biggest mistakes I see photographers make is getting overwhelmed by settings. They hear different pros recommending different things, high ISO, low ISO, short exposures, long exposures, and it's confusing. The truth is, almost every combination of settings can work if you know when to use them. Look, there are 2 ways to shoot Nightscapes, tracked and untracked. Each way will need different things. And if you ask me which is the best, I will 100% say tracked. And I genuinely believe a star tracker is the best gear investment for Nightscapes. Now, about the specific settings for each technique, tracked or untracked. I will always use the best ISO of my camera, either way. I take advantage of the ISO invariance of the sensor to get the least noise in my shot without overexposing stuff. Now, about the shutter speed. If you are not using a star tracker, you have to limit the exposure time so the stars don't trail. I can't give you a specific number here because for each camera lens option, it's different. But here are 2 rules you can follow. The 500 rule, divide the number 500 by your focal length and you get the exposure time. And the NPF rule, which takes into account the megapixels of your camera, focal length, etc. The formula is a bit complicated, so it's better to use an online calculator to estimate the exposure time. Usually, the 500 rule gives us 2 long exposures, so we have to reduce it a bit. And the NPF rule is an overkill. So the actual best exposure time will most probably be somewhere in the middle. Now, if you are using a tracker, the shutter speed can go as long as the tracker lets you. You can do 30 seconds or 300 seconds. It really depends on what you are shooting and the conditions. I will talk more about this in a bit, but first let's cover aperture. For untracked, it's simple. You use the widest aperture your lens has. If that is f4, just get a tracker. Now for tracked, it's a bit more complicated. You have to test your lens and find the widest aperture that gives you good stars. Just take a few tracked shots at 60-second exposure each, starting from the widest aperture and going up. For example, for an f1.4 lens, you might do 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 2, 2.2, and 2.5. Then you assess the images and you find the lowest number that gives you acceptable stars. For example, with my 24mm G Master, I shoot at f2, even though it can go down to f1.4. If I'm shooting an untracked time-lapse though, I open the aperture to f1.4. Okay, here is a recap for the settings. Also, as a side note, everything here is for the sky. For the foreground, you can increase the ISO and shoot at f5.6 or something, so you don't have to focus that. It really depends on what you want to do. Okay, second mistake. Camera sensors honestly aren't that great. They produce noisy shots in low light conditions, like Nightscapes. But there is a simple trick we can borrow from deep sky astrophotographers to dramatically improve the quality of our shots. Instead of capturing just one image, they do something different, something that takes only a few extra minutes, but dramatically improves image quality. Think about it. You have traveled for hours for dark skies. You are losing sleep. Why not spend a few extra minutes to get the absolute best quality possible? It's a no-brainer. So here's exactly how it works. It's called stacking. And it involves capturing multiple identical images, then combining them in editing. We also capture special calibration images called dark frames, just shots with the lens cap on, which help remove sensor noise and hot pixels. Here's how to do it yourself. Take multiple identical sky images, same settings, then put the lens cap on and shoot about 8 dark frames. Again, same settings. That's literally all it takes, and your Nightscape images will look look cleaner and sharper than you ever thought possible. Okay, the third mistake is all about editing, and specifically how far you push your edits. Let me quickly introduce you to something called the Gaussian distribution. It's basically this curved bell shape, and in our case it shows that doing too little or too much usually leads in bad results. You want to find that sweet spot right in the middle. Here's exactly what I mean visually. The left image isn't edited enough. It's flat and lacks the impact. The right image is edited way too much. It looks unnatural and overdone. But the middle image hits the sweet spot. It's impactful but still natural. So how do you practically apply this idea? When editing your Nightscapes, always ask yourself, am I doing too little, too much, or just enough? If you are unsure, try dialing back your edits slightly, pushing them a bit further. Compare visually and choose what feels balanced and natural. This especially applies when adjusting saturation or stretching the image, basically changing contrast to make the Milky Way pop against the sky. The fourth mistake is about white balance. Take a look at this image while I slowly change the white balance. Looks a lot better, right? When the white balance is off, your image just won't look natural. It will feel like you are looking at the sky through color glasses. Here is a simple trick to nail your white balance every time. Open your image in Lightroom or Photoshop Camera Raw. Temporarily push vibrance and saturation to 100%. Then adjust the temperature until the background sky looks blue and the Milky Way slightly yellowish. Adjust the tint so the Milky Way has a subtle magenta tint, but not too much. Then reset the vibrance and saturation back to normal. That's it. For non-Milky Way shots, you still want natural looking white balance, but you have a bit more flexibility. Here are some examples of non-Milky Way shots for inspiration. But white balance isn't just about the sky. Look at this image. Something seems off, right? That's why the white balance of the sky and the foreground don't match. Now look at how much better it gets when they match. So remember, when you take a separate foreground exposure, always match its white balance to your sky. And now the single most important point in this video. It's about your mindset when creating Nightscape images, and specifically the mistake of treating your foreground as an afterthought. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Look at these two images. The second one is clearly better. But why exactly? I will spoil it for you. It's because I gave careful attention to the foreground instead of treating it like an afterthought. When you thoughtfully compose your foreground, your images gain depth, storytelling, and visual impact. But I have already made an entire video explaining how to give your foreground the attention it deserves. So watch this video next to learn the simple mindset shift that will instantly take your images from this to this.